More mass cultism by way of Cory. This time again, is by way of Cory Booker. Says wearing a mask is not a surrender of liberty. It is an affirmation of love. Well, let's go through this real quick. Number one, I don't love you, Cory Booker. I don't even like you. And I'm not obligated to do such a thing. I'm not obligated to do such a thing, you know? I know you guys got this we're in this together kind of communistic sort of attitude towards this. God forbid we be individuals and make decisions for ourselves. But on a serious note, this mass shit ain't got nothing to do with affirmation of love. And yes, it has everything to do with surrendering of liberty. The thing about the mask, which gets me, is how people would dare to say, even in November of 2020, current year, they would dare to say it's just a mask, right? Considering all of the bullshit that we've had to deal with over the course of the last, over the past year, right? Or this year, rather. When all the goalpost moves, the goalpost shifts, you got restrictions, you got mask mandates, you got people being fined, you got businesses being fined, business owners being taken to jail, certainly earlier in the pandemic, which probably is about to start again as these crackheads do more lockdowns. For someone to say it's just a mask, you have to be completely unaware, or rather just be completely dishonest. Because everything surrounding it absolutely is surrendering of liberty. But this is what authoritarians do, right? This is what they do. What they do is mask their authoritarianism and humanitarianism. So what they say is, hey, you got to participate because in that way you care about your fellow man. Virtually every single dictator, every single regime, let's not just say point it on one guy when we talk about actual regimes and entire parties that have not only ran countries into the ground, but killed their own people. It's the same messaging. It's, well, it's okay for you to do this. Don't look at it like we're violating your rights. Look at it as if you are helping your common man, right? You love your man, common man, your common woman. Bullshit. Absolute bullcrap. You don't get to say that. You don't get to say that. It's just unbelievable how people would dare still just say it's just a mask. It's just just do it. It's just a mask. What's the big deal? They act as if the mask gives them a vulnerability. Yet what we have seen as cases go up, cases, everything that they talk about, we had mask mandates. What good did that do? I mean, everywhere I go, people say, well, that's because not enough people are wearing masks. Everywhere I fucking go, virtually 99% of the people at the spot, be it the grocery store, anything, has a diaper on their face. That's not the problem. It's just that they don't want to concede that. They can't envision a world where they got it wrong. So it's got to be everybody else for you. Not enough of you. You didn't abide by our rules. At least not enough of you did. That's why the case is no. What you said was going to happen just simply didn't happen. It was an ineffective strategy. They will never concede that, though, because they, especially these leaders, these government officials, can never, ever assume that they got it wrong because they're the experts. They can never concede that they got it wrong because they did, right? A lot of us assumed that, and hell, back when flatten the curve was a thing, remember that back in the day, it was still always assumed that a lot of people were going to get it. I'd assume that everybody was, for the most part, going to get it at some point because it was just an upper respiratory illness that has similarities to influenza. And I assume that everybody may not got sick, but I assume that most people were going to get it at some point. That was just the reality of the situation. And keep in mind, we're doing this for something that has a 99% survival rate. But what I cannot allow people to do, more so I cannot allow these idiots to do, is to pretend as if they and their policies are effective, considering what we've been going through for the past 7, 8, 9 months or whatever it is now. And this is why nobody gets to say that it's just a mask. You haven't given people just a mask. You lied. It was a goalpost shift, and this is what I talked about in the last show, where they told you that if you just put on the damn mask, we could have opened. That's not what happened. Not only did you get mask mandates, you also got restrictions. Because they're effective, their metrics were ineffective. All of what you're going to talk about in the next segments, the countries, the European countries, and especially, that they said we're doing the right things. Well, it's just amazing how those guys over at these Americans, they just don't get it. Why can't they just do what this country and that country did? Well, what do you know? They're going into a second lockdown. Ain't that some shit? Almost like it didn't work. It's almost like it did not work. So what are we doing aside from going through the motions? And this is why I think it's very important, and very few of your government officials or even your doctors that they put her on TV, or the nurses they throw in scrubs to try to guilt trip you or tell you some fucking sob story or something. Hardly any of them talk about taking care of your fucking body. It's always a reactive thing. It's never a proactive thing. It's okay, you need to go into a fucking bubble. God forbid you work, and they essentially made it illegal in certain aspects. You want to go for, or go to work out at a gym. Well, no, you can't do that, right? God forbid taking care of your body be a thing, right? Watching what you eat, paying attention, so you, let's say, shift out of the more vulnerable population, right? If you are among the vulnerable population, not in terms of age, but in terms of maybe comorbidities and some of that stuff, I get it that you can't control. So most of it you can, but it goes back to the undermining of the individual. They don't want you to have control over your life. They don't want you to come up with a personal solution to whatever it is that's taking place. It's got to come from them. It's got to be authorized by them. And most of it consists of you sitting in a corner for the rest of your life, or at least as long as they say that you can. Remember, they've moved the goalpost several times. So who knows? But that's what gets me about this. It's such an opportunity for people to start taking their health seriously. But that's not what they're talking about. When do you hear people on the news talk about that? Right? They get people that be their nutritionists or fitness gurus to start talking about ways you can take care of your body. No, all they show you is death cases, and they get these guys in coats to sit up here and fearmonger, and then they tell you that you need to shut down your entire life, which actually makes the problem worse in terms of your immune system. God gave us those for a reason. They act like they don't exist. They act like the immune system doesn't exist. They act like you cannot be proactive with your health. Why do you think that virtually zero college students die from this? Why do you think that virtually zero athletes have been hospitalized or even sick from this, though they've tested positive? They may get the sniffles. So why do you think that that's the case? I don't know. Maybe it's because they're in the best shape of their fucking lives. It's almost as if that goes hand in hand with how, for the most part, aside from the minor exceptions, it goes hand in hand with, if you're healthy and in shape, you seem to do better with this virus. But who the fuck's talking about that? No, that's way too proactive. That will require you to get off your fat ass. But they don't want you to do that. Instead, they want you to sit in the corner in a bubble and die and hope for the best.